So, how did my step one preparation look like as a mom of two kids? What was my year of graduation? What was my routine like? How many hours did I study initially? What are the resources that I used? And what was my timeline like? And what are the things that I would do different if I were to go back in time? So, step one is an 8-hour long exam. Started in 2018 after my graduation. However, I took the exam in 2022. Now, it didn't take that long for the study part, but the reason that it took that long was because I thought that I couldn't do it. I thought that it was impossible. I thought that I didn't have the capability to study for this exam. The strategy for step one is very, very simple. The exam is 100% first aid and UWorld. But the problem is that to understand the language of first aid, you need resources. Now you might ask, so what resources did you use, or what resources should I use? I do not have the answer to that, but I can explain. The thing with me was that my basics were very, very weak. So I had to go back to the basic, which is Kaplan. And I started studying from Kaplan. Kaplan is an excellent resource for somebody who is an old graduate and who needs to go back to the basics and revise and understand first aid. Because if you open first aid, it's going to freak you out. It is very hard to understand first aid. So my advice to you would be that if you think that boards and beyond is enough for you, it's sufficient for you to understand first aid, then go for it. If you feel like you are a little more weaker in your basics, then go for Kaplan. It all depends upon what is the best resource that fits your need. Initially, I used Kaplan and I was done with Kaplan in about 2 years. And I don't suggest that at all. I think if you sit down and only use 3 months initially to understand the basic concepts of first aid through another resource, that should be enough. But in my case, I took way longer, and then after that I did 2 rounds of boards and beyond. I have used every resource that was suggested by anybody. I used Randy Neal videos for biostat. I listened to Divine Intervention podcasts. I did the 100 concepts of gross anatomy. I used Anki flashcards. I used Melbourne PDFs. I listened to Dr. High Yield videos on YouTube. Did some anatomy concepts from High Yield Guru on YouTube as well. I used Pathoma for pathology, and I used Sketchy Micro for microbiology and also pharmacology. So basically, I used every resource that was suggested by anybody. Whoever would say, why don't you use this? I would just go ahead and use that. But here's the thing. If I were to give you an advice how to make a schedule for yourself for step one and how much time you should spend on each resource, and and this is after I have made several mistakes and took 4 long years to prepare for this exam, I think the best approach to do is you should divide your study preparation into 3 phases. So the phase 1 of your study should be understanding the basics phase. This phase 1 of your study should not take any longer than 5 months. And I think in this phase, if you want to use Kaplan, use Kaplan. If you want to use Pathoma, use Pathoma. If you want to watch videos for biostat, watch videos for biostat. This phase should be to understand what the language of first aid is and how it is asking you these questions. Just try to understand the basic concepts of first aid. Now, there are people who like to jump into UWorld before they do first aid. I was different. I wanted to understand the basics before I open UWorld, because UWorld is a subscription that lasts for only 6 months if you purchase the 6 months, of course. So I wanted to be prepared for UWorld. If you are somebody who has this privilege that they can use UWorld indefinitely, then you can just start and jump into UWorld directly and then understand the concepts as you go. But for me, I wanted to at least prepare before I purchased the UWorld. Once you have sort of understood first aid a little bit, you can go ahead and purchase UWorld and then begin using UWorld. Now, if you are smarter than this, and I have seen people who have literally taken step 1 in 6 months and they didn't need UWorld for 6 months. They just did UWorld for 3 months and they were good to go. So it all depends upon where your level of knowledge is. So then once you're done with the basic phase, you can go ahead and purchase UWorld and start doing UWorld. Here's where people make mistakes, okay? When you start doing UWorld, always start system wise. The reason why I'm telling you do system wise is because if you do it system wise, then it's more convenient. You can easily master one system at a time. But when I started UWorld, I started doing it random. The problem with random is that some of the subjects you haven't revised in a long time, and when you start getting low scores, it discourages you and it disappoints you to the point that you don't even feel like studying anymore. So I would say do one system at a time. First pass of UWorld should be system wise, and in a system it is so easy to master all the concepts. Once you feel confident that you have mastered a system, it gives you the confidence to keep the ball rolling and not lose your tempo. Also, for each system, if you still feel like you are very weak in that system, that you can always clean those concepts by watching these high yield revision concepts by Dr. High Yield on YouTube for each system. They really, really help you to stay focused, and they really help you to understand what kind of questions are they asking again and again, what kind of concepts are being tested again and again by the examiners. The number of blocks and the number of MCQs in each block. Initially, I would do 40 MCQs in each block, and then I would find that it was very, very difficult for me to get that 40 MCQs done in one block. So there were days that I would just make a block only of 10 MCQs, and that in mentally I would tell myself, oh, these are just 10 MCQs, I can just get done with it in a few hours. And that helped me so much to achieve more. I feel like if you divide the tasks into small tangible tasks, that it becomes easier to achieve those goals. If you set a very big target in front of you, that it will drain you, and also for the next day you will feel less motivated to continue doing the same thing. Also, one thing that I would like to mention here is don't focus on what percentage you got correct. The only thing that you should be focused on is, are you getting the concepts correct that were incorrect initially? And that is going to help you a lot, because in my experience, I never got more than 45% in any of my exam, even until step 3. But it was not about the percentage that I got, but the amount of incorrects that I was able to identify, what the problem was. Why was I not able to understand that concept and eventually get that concept correct? In the second phase of your study, you should take an NBME at least. And once you take that NBME, I failed my NBME, okay? I did not pass any NBME. And I'm sorry that I'm giving you a wrong role model here, but really, I couldn't pass any NBME. But when I took that NBME, at least it gave me a sense of what I was heading towards, like what was the final goal for this whole preparation and what should I be doing different. So the first NBME that I failed, what I did was that I marked and highlighted all the systems that I scored really, really low in, and for the next month or so I started to work on those incorrects. And then in another month I took another NBME. In this second phase of your study, you should book your exam. In my second phase of study, what I did was that I booked my free 120 in the Prometric Center, where I was going to take my actual exam. I scored 63% in the free 120, and that is when I booked my exam in the next 3 months. The last phase is the dedicated phase of your exam prep. So when my free 120 was around 63%, I was confident that I could pass the exam. I only focused on my incorrects. There is no use to do things again and again if you are scoring well in that system. There is literally no use. If you are revising first aid just for the sake of revision, it is useless. The only thing that really helps is to take out your UWorld self-assessment 1, 2 and see which systems you scored really low on, and then improve them to the again and again to the point that you feel confident in those concepts. And I think that really helps to improve your scores in the final exam. So after my free 120, I really focused on the incorrects. I was doing revision with Divine podcasts, with a high yield concept from Dr. High Yield on YouTube. During this preparation time, my kids were going to the daycare. So this was one of the things that worked best for me, that I used to drop them off and I used to sit down at 9 a.m. and study until 4 p.m., and then I would go and pick them up. There were days that they used to be sick, or there used to be, the daycare used to be closed or something. And on those days, even if I was cleaning the house, I would just play the videos on YouTube and just listen to them. This is the day when I took the exam, and I took some videos outside the center. It was just a very special moment to be able to arrive at least at the place where I was able to take the exam. Was a beautiful feeling, and I really hope that you guys get there as well. It is a very tiring journey, and it is a longer journey. If your kids are not going to the daycare, it might take you double the time. However, be consistent. If your child is sleeping, use that time. Wake up earlier than the rest of the family and spend time studying. If you are able to listen to videos while you're cooking or cleaning, do that helps a lot. For moments that I couldn't study, I would just go through the Anki flashcards on my phone, and that helped a lot. I think you have to find your own way of how to utilize time, and how to, there are moments that you cannot study. You just can't study with a kid, and there are everybody has their own thing. I think I would prefer like flashcards, just going through and revising those concepts in moments where I just couldn't study. It wasn't possible. Or I would just play a video like Divine Intervention podcasts and things like that, and I would just revise the concepts that I had spent time on. And guys, don't forget to enjoy your kids, okay? They are growing as well. You have very little time with these small tiny hands and feet. So please don't be depressed, and don't feel like this is the end of the world. No, it is not, okay? This is just a phase, and this too shall pass. Focus on your goal, but learn to enjoy the moment, because these moments that you have with your child are precious. This time that you have with your family is precious. While career and degree are important for one's self-growth, it shouldn't define your worth. It shouldn't define who you are and how valuable you are. The fact that you are trying so hard to achieve something is precious. The fact that you're trying to become a better version of yourself, the fact that you're spending time in your self-growth is precious. So stay persistent, enjoy this journey, and try to, every day, try to set a timer so you don't get distracted. Find a study partner if you can. Study partner helps a lot. I have had study partners throughout my journey. And also, don't forget to enjoy this journey. Please, if you have any questions, ask me in the comment box below, and I will be more than happy to help you.